All right, welcome everyone. Today on Writers at Work TikTok Live, we will be going through ACS Junior semestral assessment from 2022. I'm teacher Nathan, and it's great that many of you are able to join us this afternoon to learn English together. All right, so let's take a look at this paper, and we'll start with grammar. Dash the bad reviews. The band kept performing to sell out crowds. So over here, we're interested in conjunctions. These are your linking words. Next, let's look at some key phrases. Bad reviews. So you expect that people will not want to go to the concert, but they had sell out crowds. That means all the tickets were sold. So you can see that there is a contrast here. Let's move on to the options. With. With, this is actually not a preposition, it's a it is a preposition which shows something that is complementary. That means two things are supposed to be together. I went with my mother to the food court, for example. Okay. Next we have due to. This is used to show cause and effect. Due to an injury, Ali could not participate in the race. Next we have despite and although. These two are used to show contrast. However, when you have despite, you will need to follow up with a noun. So basically, this can be a person, animal, or non-human things. Okay? When we use although, it needs to be followed with a verb, which is your action words. So it is rather clear that we are interested in conjunction that can show contrast. And if we look closely, bad reviews. This is a noun. So the option that we will choose is number 3. Now, some of you may be asking, can I change this sentence such that I can use although? Yes, it is possible. Although many people gave bad reviews, the concert still sold out, still kept performing to sell out crowds. Then it's possible, because we are looking at how in the first half of the sentence we have an action. Someone gave the bad review, which is absent in this first half of the sentence if you observe. All right, moving on, let's take a look at number 2. Joe never gets home on time, dash. So over here, we're interested in question text. Let's take a look at the keyword gets. This is in present tense. So we would eliminate those options that are in past tense. So option 1 and option 2 will be out. Next we have does and doesn't. This is where we need to take a look at our next keyword, which is never. Never means does not. So my negative connotation is at the front. I need a positive connotation at the back. So the only option that I have is number 3. He does not get home on time. Does he? Okay, so here. moving on, let's take a look at question 3. Ashley felt beads of perspiration dash down his back due to the intense heat. Over here, we are looking at tenses. Next thing, we are interested in some keywords. Felt. This is already in past tense. Let's take a look at some of the options given to us. The first one, trickle, is present tense but plural. Next, we have trickled with an ed, which is past tense. Then we have had trickled, which is the past perfect tense. This means that one action occurred before second action took place. Lastly, we have was trickling. Was trickling is in past continuous tense. This means that my first action was continuing for some time before second action occurred. So now, as we look back, we observe that we have a past tense here. We have one verb that is already in the past tense, my first verb, before I have a second verb here. Alright? Verbs are your action words. So when we want to join these two verbs together in the same sentence, when your first verb is already in past tense, your second verb needs to be in the base form. Alright? So the only option that we have would be number 1, trickle. Okay? Now, moving on, let's take a look at question 4. If someone is injured in an accident, you dash call for an ambulance immediately. So this one, we are looking at modal auxiliary verbs. Alright? So the first thing is someone is injured, so there is some kind of danger. Then there's a set of instructions given, which is you call for an ambulance immediately. Okay, so this is an order and an instruction. Let's take a look at the options given. Could and might. Here they are used to show possibility. Ali could be in the coffee shop now. That means there's a chance that he will be there. It might rain tonight. So there isn't 100% guarantee of rain, but there's this possibility. Would is used to offer advice, while should shows obligation. I would tell the bully to stop bullying the little girl if I saw him. This is an advice, or basically something that you would do, or something that you may be inclined to do. So we are very clear here that this is an instruction because of the danger. So the most relevant option that we have would be should. It's an obligation to do something to save others and to prevent them from being in danger. Okay, therefore you choose option 4. Now moving on, let's take a look at question 5. Everyone except Caleb and Kate dash volunteered to help the teachers. Over here, we are interested in tenses. And we are looking at this keyword, everyone. So when we use the word every with the word e, it will be in singular form. Okay? And over here, some of you may be thinking, if it's singular, so I will eliminate have and do. So we are looking at just option 2 and 3. Then which one do we choose? Well, you observe that volunteered here is with an ed. So we need to be clear that when we use has volunteered, it is in present continuous, which means that your action is ongoing from past to present. And this is what we want to convey in this sentence here, that all the students have been helping the teachers from some time before until the time that we are talking. So the answer would be number 2, has. If you want to use does, then it cannot be paired together with volunteered with the ed at the back. It would be something like everyone except Caleb and Kate does want to volunteer to help the teachers. So this will mean that the whole sentence would be changed to present tense. Now, just take note that when you have a comma, two commas, the information inside here is extra. So when we choose the options, we will not take into consideration this stuff. Okay? Alright, let's take a look at question 6 now. The compass shows north. I think we are heading dash the right direction, said the scout leader. Over here, we are interested in prepositions. And they are looking at just one thing, right direction. Okay? So we're looking at some kind of position. The other clue is here, compass shows north. With that in mind, let's take a look at my options first. First one is by. By shows a source. I was scolded by my teacher. That means I'm telling everybody that the person who scolded me is teacher. Next, in shows a position. Then we have on, which shows the surface of an object. The tablet is lying on the table, right? Lastly, we have up. Up shows height. Hello, Zing Zan Zong. Okay, back to the question. We are looking at navigation and the position of a group of scouts. So the closest option that we have is in, to convey the sense of direction or position. Okay? Moving on, let's take a look at question 7. Neither his brother nor his father dash at home at the moment. So we only have two things that we need to check. First keyword, neither. So this means no one. So we will use singular. Next is at the moment, which is present tense. So this is a very straightforward subject-verb agreement question. And our option would be the one is at home. Okay. All right, moving on. Okay, to answer Coco's question. When we use, let's look closely. There are two people here, correct? Brother and father. But they already said neither. That means this person 1 and person 2 are not at home. So when they are not at home, there is no one at home. So this means we will only look at singular. If I change this question to brother and father, then it will be are at home at the moment. But when I have the word neither, it's a totally different approach. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at question 8. Having worked very hard to complete the project, Linda and Sally decided to treat themselves dash a buffet lunch. So we are looking at prepositions here. Now let's take a look at some keywords. You want to treat yourself to, this is object. Okay. Now, when we say in, it's usually about position. I am in the room. Mother is in the house. Next, when we have used to, it is used to show that you agree or you want or you need something. My parents agreed to buy me food. That means you agree to do something. Next, we have at. At shows a particular place. I am at the food court. Lastly, for shows that you are directing something to somebody. I bought this cake for you. That means this particular cake was given, it will be given to you. Okay? So because you want to treat yourself to something that you want or you really look forward to, our answer will be number 2. Okay? 2. So good job, Pei Bai. Okay, let's look at question 9. My grandfather took my sister and Dash for a swim last week. Over here, we're looking at pronouns. Okay? Next thing. My sister and Dash. And you have grandfather. I highlighted all these keywords because I want to show you how to identify the subject and object of sentences. You can see that there is a action word, a verb here. And the grandfather is doing this thing, right? He brought you to the swimming pool. So this means that grandfather is the object. And who did grandfather bring to the swimming pool? Sister and basically myself, right? So this is the grandfather is the subject of the sentence. Your verb will tell you which is your subject because the subject must be doing the verb. The recipient of the verb will be your object. So sister and Dash will be the object. So when we look at pronoun questions like this, we're only interested in the object personal pronoun here. So let's move on to the options given. I here is a subject personal pronoun. That means when you use I in a sentence, it needs to be paired up with your action word. Next is me. Me is a object personal pronoun, which is basically what we are looking for. Next is mine. Mine is a possessive personal pronoun. This means that you want to emphasize some kind of ownership. For example, I brought home my file. So it's to emphasize that this file belongs to the author. Lastly, we have myself. Myself is basically an intensive pronoun. We don't really use it here because it is used to emphasize the noun it replaces. For example, I can say, I walked home all by myself. So I'm trying to show that I did something alone. Okay? And that's where we will use intensive personal pronoun. So for this case, we're interested in the object personal pronoun. And which is the option? Number 2, me. Okay? Alright, moving on, let's take a look at question 10 now. The surface of the lotus leaves remains dry as they are dashed with wax. Over here, we're interested in tenses. Now, you have remains dry and dashed with wax. Okay, I see Dr. Hippo Potato is fast. Okay, remains here is in present tense. But the action of being covered with wax must happen in the past. So you need to be covered with wax at 1 p.m. Then at 3:51 p.m. it can remain dry in the present, right? So I'll only be interested in my past tense, which is number 3. Okay, for everyone's learning, let's take a look at the other options. Cover and covers with an S here are both in present tense. Cover is for plural and covers is for singular. Now, there is covering here, which is in continuous tense. Continuous basically means that your action was ongoing as you speak. Okay? Isn't this past participle because be dash? Where's the be? My sentence doesn't even have the be to begin with. Hello, Elisa. Okay. Well, for question 10 here, how we approach the question is through a timeline. Because the time that the action occur will impact whether it is in present or in past tense. Okay, so the wax being painted, or the lotus leaf secreting the wax happened in the past. So when we want to identify the correct tense, it will just be in the past tense. All right. Moving on, let's take a look at some vocabulary questions. The students' librarians have sorted the storybooks dash so that it is easy for users to find their books. So the keyword here is easy for users to find books. So let's take a look at some options. Tentatively, that means you are not certain or confident. So you can say tentatively is the event will be held at the parade square. That means for now the information I have is as such, but it may change. Okay. Intensively means you do something with extreme consideration and effort. Exhaustively means that you consider all aspects of something. While systematically means there's a fixed system to do something. So if you think about it, it is only when you have some kind of fixed system that people can find the books easily. So the correct option would be number 4, as what Dr. Hippo Potato and Ozil Ozos say. Okay, so good job. Now let's go on to question 12. After taking the medicine, Dorothy's fever slowly dash. Okay, first thing is you take the medicine, so the medicine has some effect on you, and we are looking at someone's fever. The first one is drop. Drop means you fall vertically. Next, subsided. This means that something becomes less intense or severe. Next, we have decrease. Decrease means something is smaller or fewer in size or quantity. Lastly, we have diminish. Diminish means something becomes lesser. So we're looking at how the fever is not so severe. We're not looking at the temperature here. Okay, so the answer will be subsided. But if we were to talk about the Dorothy's temperature, then it could be the temperature decreased. Okay. Moving on. George glared at his dash across the net after he was hit in the face by the volleyball. So we are interested in the naming of some kind of person. You can see it's across the net. So it seems like he was playing a game and these were his competitors. Okay. Now, looking at the options, we have critics. Critics means someone who expresses unfavorable opinion of something. Next, we have affiance, which is evil spirit or demon. Then we have devotees, which is people who are believers in a religion. Lastly, we have opponents, which are people who compete in a game. Over here, we're interested in people who are competing because we have across the net. So the option chosen will be number 4. Okay. Moving on, let's take a look at question 14. Many were relieved when the fighting in the war-torn countries dash. So we're interested in fighting, and they were relieved. That means the fighting likely reduce, or stop. Okay. First one is ceased means come to an end. That means something stopped happening already. Deserted means something happened, departed. That means something happened in the past. And give me a moment. And finished. Okay. Next one is completed. Completed means you are finished with something. And terminated means you cause something to stop. This refers to usually a process. For example, you terminate your job, you terminate the treatment or the insurance scheme that you have. Okay. So when we want to talk about how war and fighting stop, we will use cease. Okay. Option 1. Now, moving on, we have question 15 here. We will proceed with the programs in the itinerary as the rain has dash. The only keyword we are interested is rain. So what happened to the rain? Probably is stopped. That's why you can proceed with your program. Okay, the first option we have is let in. Let in, that means you allow somebody to enter. Then we have let up, which is something undesirable become less intense. We have let off as well, which is to punish somebody lightly for offense. So for example, the mischievous boy was let off with a stern warning for vandalizing the rubbish bin. Lastly, let down is to fail to support somebody as expected. For example, the star football player let the team down when he was unable to save the penalty shootout. Okay? So in this case, we are looking at something that is bad. Because rain does not allow you to complete your sports program, right? So the closest option is let up, where something undesirable become less intense. Okay, so number 2. Alright, moving on. We'll go on to vocabulary close now. So what will happen is I will read the text with you and we will understand the meanings of the words that are underlined. Thereafter, we will take a look at the options given to us. Okay? Some men and women show true grit by enduring hardships that would break most people. Some show it by conquering fear. So when we want to use the word show, the meaning is to allow or cause something to be visible. Some show it by pushing themselves to do things that appear impossible to ordinary mortals. Appear means become visible or noticeable. Okay? However, he did something else. 2. It did not involve pain, endurance, or survival. In fact, it was relatively simple. Relatively means in relation or comparison to something else. And yet, in its own way, it was so ghastly that most of us, if we are honest with ourselves, honest over here, honest with, right? Honest with means that if you are truthful or sincere with yourself, all right, we'll find it almost ridiculously difficult. By the time you have read the story of Odin and his remarkable expeditions at sea, expeditions refer to journeys of exploration. All right. With an understanding of the different meanings, let's take a look at the options given to us. Okay. First one is show. Show means you want to allow something to be visible. Confirm here means you want to establish truth or correctness in something. So that's why we will say confirm your answer or you confirm your attendance to an event. Provide here means make available for use. Showcase means you exhibit or display. And demonstrate means you show the existence of truth by giving evidence. So in this case, when you want to make something visible, and you can see clearly here that you want to make something visible because you want to tell people that you are conquering your fear, right? So it is not so much about just displaying this value, but you want to tell people some kind of truth that you are courageous. And the keyword here is that aspect of giving evidence. So my answer will be option 4. All right. Now we have question 17, which tests you on appear. The meaning is something becomes visible or noticeable. Let's take a look at the options given. Seem means that you give effect of some quality. So for example, if somebody you don't know suddenly starts talking, you may think that this person seems to be friendly. So this effect here may not be the truth, but it is based on what you see and observe. Next, we have emerge. Emerge means something becomes visible or prominent. So probably it's like your hermit crab hiding in the shell, then suddenly it come out. That means initially you cannot see the crab, but eventually you can see the crab because it comes out from the shell. It emerges from the shell. Okay? Indicate here means you make a point clearly. And lastly, illustrate means that you use pictures to prove a point. Okay? So for question 17, which tests you on appear, you need something that was probably not visible or cannot be seen, then suddenly can be seen. Then that's where the action from or the transition from being unseen to seen is present. And the closest word we have is emerge. Okay, so number 2. Moving on, question 18 is test you on relatively. Relatively means when you compare to something else or in relation to something. Looking at our options here, fairly means to a large degree. Extremely means to a great degree. Particularly means to a great degree or something. Oh, I forgotten to add, for fairly is to a large degree, but you have the next part, compared to something else. So there is this element of comparison. Lastly, exceptionally means a great degree than usual. Now, everybody, please take note. When you have relatively, there needs to be a comparison to something, to a similar case. So in this case, some survival story, right? So those that have just great degree without any comparison will be out. Then the next two options we have are number 1 and number 4. For exceptionally, it's just the usual case, but but this may not be what we are comparing to. We just want to compare to something else, something. So this is not so general, because you only can compare to the normal circumstance. But your something else here can be the normal circumstance, or it can be any other case. So the most accurate answer here would be number 1. All right, fairly. Now let's look at question 19 here. If you are honest with yourself, honest means you are truthful, you are sincere. So looking at the options, we have true to. True to means accordance to facts. Next is direct with. Direct means with means you think about yourself in an honest way, considering others' opinion. We have reliable about. Reliable means your good performance can be trusted. Lastly, we have authentic with, which means actually as what is claimed. That means something is real, right? But something being real has a subtle difference with being honest. Okay? Because you may be putting out a show. So something may be real, something may be happening in real life, but it doesn't reflect what you think or your true colors. So the closest option we have here is the one that has about honest, which is number 2. All right, so you're being direct with yourself. Lastly, we have expeditions, which refer to journeys of exploration. So looking at the options given to us, number 1, treks. Treks means long journeys on foot. So we are looking at hikers or people climbing the mountains, right? Then we have outings. Outings means trips taken for pleasure. So you are not trying to explore new lands, you are just going out to the zoo, to a short trip up to Johor for shopping, for example. Holidays means extended period of recreation. So you are looking for enjoyment when you visit a new place, not so much to discover new lands or new people groups. Lastly, voyages refer to long journeys on a ship. Usually, we're looking at some kind of journey to an unknown place, etc. Okay? So, in this case, our answer will be option 4. Now, people of the world 123 is asking, who is doing live tomorrow? Well, you can refer to our link in bio where the schedule and the details will be there. All right. Now, moving on, let's take a look at editing. All right. All right, for our editing, let's go through question by question. All right. Just give me a moment. All right. The world is a distracting place. It is full of shapes, colors, sounds, and smell that constantly excite our senses. Okay, for this part here, you can see everything has an S at the back. So it will be smells. Okay. Now, there's a comment on why I skip visual text. Well, due to the time constraints we have on TikTok Live, I'll be going through the necessary components that have more value to learning. All right. That constantly excites our senses. So here is the correct spelling. Sometimes things that distract us can stimulate multiple senses at once. Okay, stimulate. Okay, good. When the television set dash switch on while we are trying to read, the moving images on the screen that are accompanied by the sounds can be quite distracting. So you can see that the whole sentence is in present tense. So instead of was, it will be is. Now, accompanied is a spelling error. But you may dash notice that as you grow older, you become better at ignoring distractions and staying focused on what you are doing. Over here, it will be have noticed because the person may have realized that they are less prone to distractions, and this is in the past. This action of realizing happened, but the effect is still felt. Okay, so this is known as past perfect tense. Now moving on. Sorry, present perfect, not past perfect. As you grow older, you become better at ignoring distractions. Yeah, very good. VXRQ. And stay focused on what you are doing, especially if what you are doing is difficult, like reading a Young Minds article. Would you have done as well dash you were 6? So we are looking at some kind of linking word that shows your time period. All right. Oops. Why is it like that? So it will be when you are 6. Our ability to pay attention improves with age. Dash, adults get distracted too. So you can see that there's this fact here. And after this fact, there's this contrast that adults can get distracted too, even though they are supposedly able to pay attention when they are older. So we will use the word however. We found that, surprisingly, adults are dash at turning a blind eye to distractions. Okay, when you want to use the worst with an ST at the back, it needs to be the worst. This is superlative form. Alright? So when you just want to talk about someone being worse, it'll be SE. Okay? By studying distractions that involve multiple senses, multiple is spelled this way, we can better understand how our attention works in everyday situations. So this is how you spell situations. We can also find out our ability to pay attention grows as we grow. All right. Yep, thank you for following VXRQ. Your answer is correct. I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information before we move on to our comprehension close. All right, moving on, let's take a look at this text here. Singaporeans are consuming too much salt, and plans are in place to get people to cut their sodium intake by about 15% over the next 5 years. To do so, the Health Promotion Board will urge Singaporeans to dash their regular salt with low sodium alternatives. So you can see that they are trying to swap this salt for lower sodium alternatives. Alternative is your keyword. So that means you want to choose the alternative over this. So the word that we'll use is replace. It will work with retailers to make dash substitutes more affordable. So the text already tells you that these lower sodium alternatives are the substitutes. It's very specific. So we will just say make the substitutes more affordable. Okay? The diet of Singaporeans has dash higher in salt over the years. So we are looking at a particular change over time. And what's this change? They have become higher in salts. Alright? The amount is well above the World Health Organization's recommended daily salt intake, dash not more than 2,000 milligrams of, or about 1 teaspoon. So when we talk about an intake and you want to elaborate on this intake, which is here, we'll say it is not more than the 2,000 milligrams of salt. Studies have found that excessive sodium consumption results dash high blood pressure, which can lead to heart attack and stroke. So there's a cause and effect here. My cause is excessive sodium intake and it can lead to some dangerous conditions. Cause to effect. And we want to use this conjunction, it will be result in something else. Okay? Dash. These salt substitutes are about 10 times more expensive than regular salts. So well, we want to ask people to reduce the sodium intake and switch to those substitutes. There's a challenge here. Okay, so this is your contrast. If you want people to switch, and as they say earlier, you need the substitutes to be affordable. But now we note that the price is 10 times more. So when you want to show this contrast, we will say, however. Okay. For a start, a dash affordable lower sodium salt product will go on sale at major supermarket chains from October. So you want to talk about how the substitute is not 10 times more. So we will use the word more affordable. That means probably lesser than 10 times the regular salt price. Singapore's latest war on salt follows its war on sugar, which aims to dash Singaporeans to reduce their sugar intake. So the government cannot force people, but they want to prompt Singaporeans, or you want Singaporeans to change that mindset. So some options are, you can urge Singaporeans, you can prompt Singaporeans, or you can encourage Singaporeans. Okay, so this question here has multiple answers, but your answer needs to have this idea that you want the Singaporeans to do something, even though this is not compulsory. So you cannot say force Singaporeans, because it shows that there is an obligation, is compulsory. The authorities have introduced a Nutri-Grade rating for drinks ranging from A to D, with a D grade dash the unhealthiest. So you want to show what D means inside your Nutri-Grade rating, which is D being the unhealthiest. Okay. A recent local study found that a small reduction in sodium intake significantly dashed health, even for those with normal blood pressure. So we already talked about how excessive sodium intake can cause heart attack and stroke here. So when you reduce your intake of excessive sodium, it would improve your health or make your health better. Okay. Even for those with normal blood pressure, sodium plays an essential dash in regulating blood pressure, but only a small amount is needed for vital functions. So we're looking at how sodium, and you can see that the verb they use is play. When you have play, usually we talk about playing a role. Okay. Okay, me, that's very good that you did this before. So just take it as a revision and to recall the key skills you need for this text. Okay. Is needed. This is dashed to just a quarter teaspoon of salt. So we are looking at how this 500 milligrams is needed for vital functions, and 500 milligrams is the same as 1/4 of a teaspoon. So this means this is equal to. Okay, me, if you know the answer, please type it in the comment section. Okay. HPB needs to get more supermarkets on board to dash affordable low sodium salts to food operators. So when you want to pass all these low sodium salt to the food operators, and you want to have supermarkets to give all these options, we will say to offer. Okay, or you can say to provide. Okay. these operators can then dash to healthy alternatives in their cooking. So if you want to change to healthy alternatives, you can say they turn to healthy alternatives, they switch to healthy alternatives. There needs to be this idea that you swap your unhealthy high sodium content salt for lower sodium content healthier choice. There needs to be this idea of swapping between two items. Okay. Eventually dash consumers. So when you have healthy alternatives here, it will bring good things to consumers, which is called benefiting. Okay. This move is critical as excessive sodium consumption can eventually lead to the rupturing of blood vessels and formation of blood clots. Okay, so this is our complete close. Are there any questions, anybody? If not, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon on our Writers at Work TikTok Live. I'm teacher Nathan. And if you would like to continue to learn English with me, do log in at 4:45 where we'll be going through another paper together. Okay? If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the comment section. If not, I'll see you later at 4:45. Okay? Bye-bye.